Have you ever wondered how a simple idea to teach poor working children on their only day off grew into one of the most influential movements in Christian history? The story of Sunday schools is filled with courage, innovation, and a passion to bring both education and faith to those who needed it most. The history of Sunday schools is a fascinating story of how faith, education, and social reform intersected to meet the urgent needs of children who were often neglected by both society and church. Before Sunday schools existed, religious education was largely confined to catechism classes and family instruction. Christian families and churches, especially in the Catholic and Protestant traditions, relied heavily on catechisms, such as Luther's Small Catechism, the Westminster Shorter Catechism, and the Heidelberg Catechism, to teach children core biblical doctrines. These lessons were typically memorized and recited, taking place either at home or in formal church settings. However, this system mainly benefited families who had the time, literacy, and resources to prioritize religious education. When the Industrial Revolution reshaped society in 18th century England, it created vast urban centers filled with working class families living in poverty. Children often worked long hours in factories and had little opportunity for formal schooling or church attendance. Parents, many of whom were illiterate or overwhelmed by economic hardship, struggled to provide religious instruction. The traditional catechism approach failed to reach the poorest children, who needed it most. Recognizing this dire need, William King of Dursley, Gloucestershire, began a small Sunday class in 1751 aimed at teaching poor children basic reading skills. Yet it was Robert Raikes, a newspaper publisher in Gloucester, who would turn this idea into a national movement. In 1780, Raikes organized Sunday classes for working children, focusing on literacy and Bible knowledge. Unlike the rigid catechism model, Raikes emphasized direct engagement with Scripture, believing that reading the Bible was the most powerful tool for moral transformation. Raikes promoted Sunday schools widely through his newspaper and gained support from influential figures such as Methodist leader John Wesley and clergyman Thomas Stock. The innovation was simple but profound. Sunday was the only day off for most working children, so holding classes then made education accessible. These schools combined basic literacy, reading, writing, arithmetic, with biblical teaching, meeting practical and spiritual needs simultaneously. Importantly, early Sunday schools were volunteer-led initiatives largely independent from formal church control. Lay people, many women, served as teachers and organizers, operating in homes, barns, rented rooms, factories, or even outdoors. This lay leadership was revolutionary, but also controversial. Some clergy feared lay-led instruction would undermine church authority, lead to doctrinal error, or disrupt traditional religious order. Others objected to women's prominent roles, which were uncommon in church leadership at the time. Despite these challenges, the Sunday school movement grew rapidly because it answered an urgent social and spiritual need. By 1785, around 250,000 children attended Sunday schools in England alone. The Sunday School Society was founded to coordinate efforts, publish textbooks, and train volunteers. Initially, Sunday schools were broadly interdenominational, welcoming children regardless of church affiliation. But as the movement matured, denominational divisions arose. Anglicans, Methodists, Baptists, and Presbyterians developed their own curricula and structures, reflecting theological and cultural differences. Churches were cautious in embracing Sunday schools. Some clergy worried the schools would interfere with Sabbath rest, undermine parental authority, or encourage inappropriate social mixing. Certain conservative groups, including some restorationist movements and Churches of Christ, rejected Sunday schools as unscriptural innovations. Others were uncomfortable with lay or female leadership. However, as Sunday schools demonstrated clear benefits, improving literacy, promoting morality, and drawing children into Christian fellowship, churches gradually adopted them. By the early 19th century, Sunday schools shifted from parachurch efforts to official church ministries. Denominations began publishing their own Sunday school literature and organizing formal societies. Dedicated classrooms, church-appointed teachers, and denominational oversight became the norm by mid-century. This institutionalization helped Sunday schools become a standard feature of Protestant churches in Britain, North America, and beyond. The movement spread swiftly across the Atlantic. In 1791, the Philadelphia Sunday School Union was founded as America's first interdenominational association to promote Sunday schools. American Sunday schools followed the British example, focusing on literacy and Bible instruction for poor children. They were initially volunteer-driven, but increasingly embraced by churches, becoming a core part of Protestant education. Missionaries carried the Sunday school model worldwide, adapting it to local contexts in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Pacific Islands. The central mission remained to make biblical teaching accessible, especially to children with few other opportunities. Sunday school curricula evolved over time. Early classes emphasized Bible reading, hymn singing, and prayer. As Sunday schools became church ministries, catechism and more structured lessons were reintroduced. Publishing houses like the American Sunday School Union produced graded materials for age-specific classes. Teaching methods expanded to include storytelling, crafts, dramatization, and music to engage children. Influential educators such as Henrietta Mears professionalized Sunday school teaching, emphasizing discipleship and leadership development that shaped Christian education throughout the 20th century. Sunday schools offered opportunities for lay leadership and empowered many women to serve as teachers and administrators, contributing to social mobility in marginalized communities. Historians credit Sunday schools with shaping the moral character and civic values of entire generations. They provided a rare blend of education, faith formation, and community, especially for working-class children who otherwise faced bleak prospects. However, the movement faced ongoing resistance. Some Anabaptist groups, like Mennonites and Amish, rejected Sunday schools, preferring religious instruction within the family and fearing outside influences. By the late 19th century, as Sunday schools increasingly served mainly the children of church members rather than unchurched children, critics argued the movement lost its original missionary focus. In recent decades, attendance has declined in many Western countries, challenged by secularization, changes in family life, and digital media. Churches have responded by experimenting with new formats, incorporating technology, developing intergenerational classes, and partnering with communities. While Sunday schools may look different today, they remain an essential form of Christian education, adapting to contemporary needs while holding to a rich heritage. Looking back, the Sunday school movement's greatest strength was its willingness to meet people where they were, physically, socially, and spiritually. It empowered ordinary people to teach, serve, and lead. It made faith and education accessible to those most in need. In an age of growing disconnection and distraction, the Sunday school story challenges churches and believers to ask, are we willing to innovate and include as boldly as those pioneers? Can we find new ways to make spiritual formation and community accessible to all, especially the vulnerable? The future of Christian education depends on such courage and creativity. As we honor the legacy of Sunday schools, let us recommit to making the life-changing message of faith accessible and relevant for every generation. If you found this journey through Sunday school history inspiring, imagine what other stories church history holds. Stories of courage, transformation, and faith that shaped our world. Don't miss out on more powerful insights and lessons from the past that can fuel your faith today. Subscribe now and join us as we explore the rich heritage of the church, one story at a time. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode, and be part of a community that learns from history to live boldly in the present.